Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for taking the time out to join our webinar today. I'm Denise with BizNet Software, and we're going to try to keep this to about 40 or 45 minutes to keep in time and allow Q&A. But as Bryce said, please submit questions, and as they come up, Bryce, you can just kind of let me know. A little bit about BizNet. We've been around for a while. We're a global company. We have about 22 ERP solutions that use BizNet for reporting. And the product is called BizInsight, pretty mature product, first developed in 2005. We've been on a pretty steady growth path, and we work with about 200 Sage resellers and a pretty strong commitment for the Sage family. We're in the process of getting certified by Sage on their newest tie-in product, X3. We've been working with Sage 100, 500, formerly Mass 90, 200, 500 for about 5 years. And our first customers bought our product to actually address reporting gaps they had with FRX, particularly in the consolidations, multi-currency. That's really a strength for us. So our roots are really strong core financials. With, as you'll see, it's been extended to beyond just GL reporting. With the retirement announcement, we've had 9 other publishers in the mid-market select us as their FRX replacement solution, and endorsed by analysts like Business Finance Magazine, K2 Enterprises, which evaluates every type of product in the mid-market. Last 2 years running, they have provided BizNet with their quality award for the best financial reporting tool in the mid-market, not just for Sage, for the last 2 years, and their endorsement is the best financial or FRX replacement. We are a Microsoft shop, so it's all open industry standard. And one of the things we're going to talk about is really unique to BizNet. Most of the Excel-based products out there do struggle with performance. We're going to talk about how we've addressed that, and we have a patent on that approach. So just a little bit of a background on our company. So with that, I'm just going to kind of jump right into the product presentation here. So hopefully you can see my desktop okay. So one of the things that you're going to see with BizNet is this is our user interface. We don't output to Excel. We do everything from within Excel, so it makes for a very fast learning curve. So as a BizNet user, you do not need to be a mass user. You're going to open up Excel like you normally would, and you'll see the integration here is automatically presented. Now for, I'm showing Mass 500. These are the current modules that we have pre-built connections for. So the multi-currency project counting, AP for expense analysis, AR for sales analysis. For Mass 90, 200, we do the GL expense and sales analysis. And we have the ability, next month we're coming out with the ability that you can create your own integrations to any data source. So if we look at the focus is today on looking at being an FRX replacement, and as I mentioned, we have a lot of publishers that have used BizNet, so we have a lot of experience migrating clients off of FRX. And as you look at the GL, there are 3 functional areas. We have some out-of-the-box templates and that you can leverage. I'm going to show you how you can take your FRX reports and easily make those BizNet reports. Functions allow you to create your reports, and this analysis sets are pre-built reports and access to your data, so you can get not only lists of information, but reporting real-time on an ad hoc basis. So if we look, we'll look at each of those, but if we look at the templates first, again, these are just some sample templates. This is really all maintained and modified by you, so as you create your reports, you can add any number of your own reports and group this any way you like, and these are all modifiable. So as a BizNet user, you're going to open up Excel. You want to access, let's say, these income statements. Just drag and drop the report into Excel, and at the time you drag it in, it is real-time and current. Now the reports are all designed to be interactive, so I'm looking at this for all locations consolidated, but I could look at it individually, etc. So again, one of the things that you can have is as many report parameters as you want, so you can look at it by company, department, division. One of the things that is, I mentioned, unique to BizNet is how we pull data into our Excel-based reporting solution. All of our competitors will use one of 3 approaches. They will load all of the detail into Sheet 1, and every time you make one adjustment, you've got to reload all of that detail, whether you're going to use it or not. That can be very slow. Most of them will use a data warehouse or a data mart, which makes it no longer real time. You're working off of yesterday's data. The others that do go direct can be very slow. It's how our version 1 worked. Anytime you change anything in the spreadsheet, it's going to refresh one cell at a time, whether the data changed or not. BizNet does not use any of those approaches, and again, where we have the patent is when I brought this fiscal 2007 information in, we brought in all of the balance level. We bring it in once, and then we cache it in memory. You're going to see a banner flash now when I request 2008. We just brought in all of the fiscal balances for 2008 and cached it. And now I've got 2 years within. I'm able to look between without the need to continually go back and retrieve data to the data source. So very efficient, and once in memory, extremely fast. If you have adjustments that have been made, you can simply right-click and force a refresh, but it's not needlessly refreshing when the data hasn't changed, especially one cell at a time. So that's kind of our in-memory analytics, and it is unique to BizNet. The reports are all interactive and easily reformatted. If I want to make this 6 or 12 periods, I just drag and drop, and my report is reformatted. Drill down, we only bring in the detail as you request it, but again, bringing it in once. So if I want to see what makes up this total revenue number, I'm just simply right-clicking on the cell, and I could look at balances or transaction detail in a pivot or list format. And again, these are all pre-built for you. The pivot table is kind of nice because it allows you to kind of organize your detail, filter and isolate transactions rather than looking at an entire list. So we'll select that option. Again, we're bringing in the detail. And now on a separate tab, here are my accounts that make up total revenue for that number to the penny, and now we present the GL field list for you. And this allows you, again, to get additional information like posting date or posting comment. It also allows me to kind of slice and dice this a little. So if I want to just maybe drag any field under the column label box, I can do that to get a breakdown by that field type. So again, you can kind of isolate on a selected number of transactions, or by double-clicking, you can just get the total list in a separate sheet. So every drill down request creates a new sheet that you can save or delete like any other worksheet in Excel. So this, again, is all out-of-the-box functionality. So one of the things that we can easily do is create a lot of different formats. Anything can be in the row, anything can be in the column. And this allows me to also put multiple values in a single cell. So I can look at a whole quarter in a cell, or a whole year, or multiple years in a single cell. So total flexibility in that regard. Taking the same income statement but looking at it on a 12-month trend, again, I can just kind of put in the current month and it rolls back for me. And we can add some nice charting and graphing in Excel. Okay, so let's look at how we create a report, because that's really the biggest test. And we're going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to build a very simple report, and then I'm going to kind of show you how we do that coming out of FRX. But Bryce, is there any questions at this point? Are we good?
No, I do not see any questions yet. Okay,
good. So the functions are what allows us to create reports, and this is really a simple matter of getting the row formats here in this report. And I've kind of got it semi-formatted, but I can either go into FRX and copy and paste the row format into Excel, and I'll show you that in a minute. If you don't have an FRX report or you're working from scratch, this is where the analysis sets can be really handy. So first off, we can get to whatever's set up in your system. And by the way, this is the same version whether we're running Mass 90, 200, 500. We have one version of our product, and it's just the different touch points to the database. So this is going to look exactly the same, if I didn't mention that before. The functions, how everything works is exactly the same. So this is allows me to get to whatever's set up in my system. So if I want a list of my main accounts, I just put in the company code. And now real time it's going to give me the list information. So I could use this list to copy and paste into Excel or my FRX reports, all my subledgers, my chart structure if I don't know it, etc. So this is all pre-built to your system. And the data analysis sets are just simply, while we're here, day one you actually have reporting out of the box or any time on an ad hoc basis. So you can see I can look at balances or transaction detail, budget versus actual, just by dragging and dropping lists of reports or pivot table reports into Excel. So we're going to come back up to the function set, but I wanted to just show you how you can, again, if you're not a user of FRX or MAS, how you can actually get these accounts and build a report from scratch. So now, normally what I do is I build a trend report. But one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just, I think I'm going to build a departmental report. Not all of the reporting tools can even put departments in the columns, so something's pretty basic. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to just, I happen to know what they are. I'm just going to put 10, 20, 30. And we're just going to then use the asterisk, which is our wildcard character, to designate all departments. So again, you can put anything anywhere, periods, year. If I was going to do a consolidated report, instead of the department codes, I could put my company code. So it really doesn't matter to BizNet. Now we're ready to build a report. And we do that using functions. And you see I can pull month-to-date, year-to-date, budget information. And every cell can have a different type of function. I can even pull from different modules and data sources into the same report. If I open up the month-to-date functions, you'll see they're pretty intuitive in terms of the type of data I'm going to retrieve. Month-to-date net, credit, debit, beginning balance, non-financial or statistical. I've got my year-to-date functions. So pretty intuitive once you get used to it. So we're just going to utilize the month-to-date net function, just drag and drop it into this first row, open it up. And now it's just a matter of identifying to BizNet. This is a one-time process of where these arguments are in the spreadsheet. And I just do that through cell reference. So click on the cell that contains my company code. And then I'm going to hit my function 4 key, which is standard Excel row and column anchoring, to show you that's what's going to allow me to drag and drop this function. So this is basically saying that I'm always going to find the company code in column B, row 4. So each of these are in absolute position. So by hitting F4 once, it anchors both row and column. For my main account here, I'm going to hit F4 3 times because I want to anchor the column but not the row. My segment 2 is a location code. I'm just going to skip it. It will roll up all values. My segment 3 is my department code, and I'm going to anchor, in this case, the row but not the column. Now I'm done. Click OK. That's a live link cell to my mass data. I can simply drag the function down. We'll go ahead and apply a standard sum function. So this is native to Excel, so everything you do in Excel today will work the same, and you can apply any standard Excel functionality. So let's go ahead and bring in our segment descriptions. We'll bring in first our segment 1 description for a main account. And again, you'll see all the functions work the same, so once you learn how to do this, which I think you can see doesn't take hours to do, you can use any function in the system since they all work exactly the same. And we're going to go ahead and bring in the segment 3 description for a department description. And again, in this case, I'm going to anchor the row. Click OK, drag that across. Now the asterisk doesn't mean anything. This is really all departments. And of course, we would do our nice formatting and bolding and all that stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and just make that a little bigger. And now we can simply just take these functions and drag them across. And I'm done. That's a one-time build. I would just save that off, and I don't have to do that again. And as soon as you add a function here, you can drill down on it. So that's all pre-built for you. So hopefully that looks pretty straightforward. You can see it's all live linked. I can just change my periods now, and you'll see all my numbers change. To add let's say we want to add another account or department, I can just insert a column. Let's go ahead and say we added another department here. Just put in the new department code, and again, you're just going to drag and drop, and now your report is updated. So we build a pretty simple report, single accounts, but your row formats can all be different. I'm going to go through some of that very quickly here. We'll look at FRX, but you know, Bryce, if there's any questions, please ask them as they come up. So I want to show you that all your Excel functionality works great, but I can't, using the Excel sum function, can't drill down on that. So
we do actually have one question.
Okay.
Sorry. All right. Natalie and Chris want to know, is this also compatible with Excel 2010?
Yes, good question. So as a BizNet user, and you're going to see on report distribution people getting a static report. As a non-BizNet user, users and non-BizNet users can be on versions Excel 2003, 2007, and 2010, and you can be on 3 versions concurrently within your company. Good question. So all 3 versions are supported concurrently. Okay, so what we're going to do is between dragging and dropping, you'll see copying and pasting functions, so we can report building those pretty quickly. I'm just going to copy and paste the function and edit it. And what I'm going to do is create a total I can drill down on simply by selecting the entire list. We'll anchor it, and I'm going to put it below the sum function, so you'll see we're going to get the exact same amount, only now I've just created a total using the list capability that I can drill down on. And there you see are my accounts, and now I can slice and dice that accordingly. So in BizNet, for your years, your periods, any of your segments, select 3 or more values. Obviously, that's a list. If you only select 2, it's going to default as a range between those 2 values. So for example, let's say this row format was made up of those accounts, 6020 to 7200. I could open it up and just select the 2 like you saw me did before. I'll show you a little shortcut. If I double-click on the function, standard Excel functionality says what cells is this referencing. Kind of a nice debugging tool, but it also very easily allows me to extend my reference. I just hit Enter. I'm going to drag that across now, and now you'll see that salaries is that range of accounts. Now notice our totals changed, and that's because I actually just picked that number at random. It has to be some duplicate accounts, and we don't add in the duplicates, so you don't have to worry when you have a big list whether you've added in a number twice or not. So that's a range, a list. The wildcard is simply, we can just put the asterisk in any digit position, and now travel and entertainment is all 70, or telephone expense rather is all 7,500 accounts. So ranges, lists, wildcards. I'll show you a couple other report building to show you some of the flexibility, and hopefully you can see this is pretty easy to do. If you had a lot of accounts, let's say a 10, 15 non-contiguous accounts, not conducive to a range or anything for a row, a shortcut that we use a lot of times is in one place in our reports, we list the long list of accounts one time, and then we give them a name. So I only have 3 here, but you know, these are my sales accounts. So come up to the Excel name box and give it any name you want. It also allows us to create a grouping. I don't have a region defined within my demo company, but utilizing the location code, I want to create for reporting a region West grouping and a region East. And the way that's going to work now is in the function, instead of listing all those out in each report, I can simply in the function very easily reference the name, and you'll see all the accounts are populated, and I'll also for the region here. So you can kind of see how it populates those accounts. So kind of a nice nice feature here. And so that's what we call our name reference, and that's standard, again, functionality in Excel. And then lastly, for those of you that have more complex row formats, maybe you've got multiple ranges and adding or excluding, in a single cell it's just a logical statement, and I'm just taking the argument name, and if you're not sure what that is, just open up the function and identify the name. So we can do this again for any of these arguments except for company. So I can take the name of the argument. In this case it's segment 1 for Mass 9200. That would actually be called main account. And you're just going to take that name and create a logical statement for that row. So this is now, this row includes this range of accounts, this other range of accounts, and I'm excluding 9600. If I wanted to add, I would just take out the not. And you can see it can be as long as you want. You'll see it's also dynamic. So if I want to change the values in the range, let's say, you'll see my numbers all change. And now when I drill down on that cell, you'll see that it's going to include all those accounts, excluding 9600. So pretty simple to build. So a lot of, obviously, back to our reporting, you can have all those scenarios, and you know, each row can look very different. So that's kind of our report building very, very quickly. For those of you that are doing consolidated reporting, as I mentioned, that's a strength for us. On Mass 500, if they're in different currencies, no problem. But you would just put your company codes in here and, again, anchor the row if they have the same chart of accounts. If they have different charts, different fiscal calendars, again, not a problem. Very easily, this is an example of that, and our 2 companies here are just referencing a different column. So you'll see here the SOA company is using a 4-digit main account. Our CAD company is using a 5-digit. So again, very simple to build and pretty straightforward. So that's kind of the report building. A couple things here is that these are designed for multiple users to access the same reports at the same time. Don't have to worry about locking down the spreadsheets. They're designed for users to bring them in, you know, add formulas. Even if they hit the save button, they're not going to corrupt the templates for other users. So you can let them play with Excel and do some what-ifs if you want, and certainly we're read-only, and they're not going to change any of the formats for other users. So I can open up as many templates as I like. As you saw, I opened up the Consolidated P&L. We just opened up another instance of Excel. I think Excel is really good for dashboarding and charting, and this is, again, looking at multiple entities. These are live links, so again, I'm just going to put in my month, and you kind of get some trends, some budget versus actual, etc. So this is just all standard Excel functionality, and you can have some really fun with that. Just lastly, just one other dashboard. We're not going to have time to look at the other modules, but we have some really cool pre-built aged payables, receivables. These are all kinds of rankings functions. This is again caching all the AR and sales data. So this is pulling from 3 different modules into the same report. You can look at your top and bottom sales, items, territory, customers by month, or bottom, your top or most expensive items or purchases by vendor. So you just put in the current month, and you can get all kinds of rankings automatically. So the rankings is a pretty extensive functions that allows you to do all kinds of analysis, both top and bottom performing areas of your business. And that's all out of the box for you. Okay, so let's look at budgets. For those of you doing budgets, we've just got a few quick examples here, and then we'll be looking at report distribution as well. So any questions so far? Are you guys good? If there are no questions, we'll keep on charging forward here. Okay, so here's, again, just some examples of some budget versus actual reports. So what this report is a budget versus actual year over year, so comparison. So I'm using, very simply, the same month-to-date net function for the current month actual. And for the budget column, I'm using the budget month-to-date net. And the only difference between the two functions is the budget functions are asking me for the budget type in NAS to reference. So as you revise or change your budgets, just reference whatever you've called it. All your numbers will automatically change. So the idea is you just change your parameters up here, and you never have to, rerun or rebuild this report. So this is caching all my budget data. And so you can see we also can automate the headings up at the top. You've got all the drill down on the budget as well as the actual. This is looking at the prior year, so I'm just taking the current year minus 1. Standard Excel formulas to calculate my variances. I've got my year-to-date function, my budget year-to-date, and my prior year-to-date. The only other column I could add, maybe utilizing the budget year-to-date ending balance, would allow me to look at total budget or calculate remaining budget. The other type of report here is pretty typical, where customers have some number of actuals against a forecast or plan for the year. To update this for the current period, just simply need to drag and drop, and now your report is all dynamically updated. And then you would just roll back the budget functions to reset for the new year, change your type in your year, and your report is good to go. Lastly, for budgeting, I think Excel is really good for the what-if scenarios. And I'll just show you kind of a variation on this. We have a couple of them. But this is kind of taking a variation on the trend. I'm looking at 6 months actual, and based on the current period against 6 months of a forecast. And I'll just back up the current month here. And so we've got, our traditional income statement, but I also have the ability to do a what-if scenario. So we've got a scenario against revenue and one against expenses. But certainly, since this is Excel, you could do it on a line-by-line basis. So this just allows you to do your what-if. So maybe I want to increase revenue by only 5% and increase or decrease my expenses by 15%. So you can kind of do with those what-if scenarios. So again, really easy to do in Excel. Okay. So kind of the budgeting. We've looked at the analysis sets very quickly. And so what I'm going to do right now is we're going to look at report distribution. And then we'll kind of wrap it up with some Q&A. So one of the nice features of our product is the ability to automate the delivery. And this is really a very slick product because what you're going to see is, and a lot of times coming out of FRX, we can reduce the number of reports. And I really didn't show anybody how to get out of FRX, and maybe I should do that real quickly. If someone would like to see how we take an FRX report and very simply copy that and make it a BizNet report, please submit a question. I'm happy to do that before we exit here.
Hey, Denise.
Yeah.
I think that Tracy kind of has a question like that. She was wondering if there was a way to import the FRX setup into BizNet, or they'll have to rebuild it.
Yeah, so let's do that. So let's go into the report designer before we look at distribution here. And what you're going to do is you're going to go into the row format. Now we can also move the column formats over, but I will tell you that a lot of our clients end up changing the column formats because of Excel. We don't have to live with one column format, and people tend to have a lot more flexibility in the column formats. The biggest effort is in the row format, but again, we can move over both. I'm just going to pick an income statement here, and let's just go ahead. And again, what we really need, as you saw, is the accounts, because I can bring in the descriptions. But a really easy way to take and convert these reports is just copy the entire row format. We'll come over here to a blank sheet in Excel, and we're going to just paste that row format into Excel. Okay? And basically, now it's just a formatting exercise, and we'll get ready to set it up to build the report out. So I don't need these control columns. I'm just going to delete those. We're going to need to make a few adjustments on the row format. So for example, this is the wildcard character. Hopefully I copied the right one out. Did I copy the right one out? I think I copied the wrong one out. Hang on. I'm going to go back here. I think I copied the wrong format out. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. Just because these numbers tie out to my demo data. I've got to get valid accounts here, so we'll copy. Okay, we'll come back over here. Just paste over this. Okay, this looks a little better. And now what we're going to do is delete the control columns. And now we're going to make a few adjustments on the row format accounts themselves. So the question mark needs to be replaced with the BizNet wildcard, which is an asterisk, and I just need one. And this is a range in FRX. So I just got to break those out into two separate cells. And again, just by specifying two values, it assumes the range. And then we've got a list here of 3. And again, if you had a bigger list, you would use the list capabilities that I showed you earlier. Rather than listing these all out, you would just define them in one place in a tab or give them a name reference, that kind of thing. So now we're ready to go. As you saw, the functions need anywhere. We need a valid company code, a valid year, and a valid period. And I'm just going to put those all here at the top. And we reformat this, give it a title. Obviously get rid of the grid lines. And now what we're going to do is probably create a month-to-date. We can actually create a year-to-date column as well. And again, I won't spend a lot of time formatting this. And we'll maybe look at a year-to-date column as well. So now we're ready to build the report out. So we come back over here, and very quickly I'll go through just some of that. We grab the month-to-date net function, and we start building that out. So again, we're going to identify where these arguments are in the spreadsheet. And again, our segment 1 is our base account here. We're going to anchor the column, and we're just going to click OK. And now we're going to format that cell, round it up. And since it's a revenue account, we're going to come up to our formula line and just do a times -1. We'll reverse the sign. And now we're just going to drag and drop and copy and paste this function. And again, I can use a sum function for my net sales and just copy and paste this function down. So we'll go through, oops. The nice thing about Excel is I can do undo, which I really like. I use it a lot. We'll copy and paste. We'll take the sign reversal off here. And now we've got a gross margin, which is just an Excel formula. So I'm going to, again, take my net sales, do my minus cost of goods, and again, we'll copy and paste the function down to expense account, drag it down, extend this to include the range of accounts, hit enter, and again, another total here, And this is another formula. So we'll take our operating minus our gross margin. And I probably did that backwards. There we go. And again, we'll copy and paste. So you can kind of see I'm going to do this. It's not too difficult to replicate. Now, a lot of times, as I mentioned, you might have a report for each department, location, or company, and we can do that a lot of times with one report, especially on the distribution. So we're almost done. I'll go ahead and finish this out. Copy and paste this down. One last formula. And hopefully that looks pretty straightforward. So we would, again, spend some time formatting this, adding our underlines and do all that stuff. Now we just, and a lot of times what we do is we'll hide or kind of group the accounts here, so we can kind of hide that. Now this is all live linked as we did before. And now very simply to create the year-to-date, I'll show you, we could come over here and grab the year-to-date, build it out. But all of our actual functions, our month-to-date, quarter-to-date, year-to-date, have the exact same format. So in Excel, what I can do is just copy the function and rename it because it's already got all the arguments the same. And so we could have built those two columns together and dragged them down at the same time. And so voila, there we go. Hopefully that looks pretty straightforward to everybody, so it's pretty easy to take it from FRX. And again, we can certainly pull over the column formats easily, but you have a lot more flexibility with BizNet, so a lot of times people are adjusting their column formats. So if there aren't any questions about any of that, we just built that report pretty quickly. We'll move on to report distribution. Questions? We good, Bryce?
We got another one here from Lori Hall, and she says, can you discuss the integrity of the data for historical versions if updates are made to GL accounts, i.e. account merging?
Okay, so, well, typically, I don't know how the math systems handle that, but you can always keep and publish a report as a point in time. If you have an account that you've purged and the year that you purged it, typically if there's activity against it, I don't think you can purge an account, but let's say you don't have the account anymore. It's just going to, if the account no longer exists, it's going to show up, or you had it for 1 year and you don't now, it's just going to show up as a zero activity. And we do support zero-row suppression, if I understood your question correctly. So, but the idea is you can always go back into any prior year and pull up prior year information. And so as you purge those accounts, that's, I assume, going to be from, moving from current activity forward, not prior year activity that you're storing. So hopefully that, I don't know if I understood your question correctly, but if I didn't, ask it again. Okay, so this is, again, going to be reflecting whatever you have in your math system. So, okay. So let's look at report distribution. And we brought in this report. And what you're going to see is I can take one set of reports and tailor how I send this report out, what I send out, and the format that I send it in. So it's a one-time setup. So I'm just sending this out by location, but there's no limit to the number of distribution parameter or criteria you can have: company, department, division, location, whatever your requirements are. So I've got a cover sheet here. I've got an income statement I'm sending out by location. I've got my month-to-date over year-to-date expense report by location. I've got a dashboard tab in here. Now this could be comprised of GL, APAR. It doesn't have to all be just financial reports for publication. To set the distribution up, you're going to come up to the Biz Broadcast ribbon. You'll click on Insert New Distribution Template. It adds this tab and template and formatted for you into your workbook. And then in Excel, one time, you'll define your distribution requirements. So you do that by specifying for each report the format: PDF, values only in whatever version of Excel they have, 2003, 7, or 10. So this is stripping out the BizNet functions to provide an Excel format for them. Maybe you want to publish out to a portal in an HTML format. So format, method of delivery, a folder, an email, you can do both. You can have any number of emails here. You can utilize email distribution lists. The only reason I have a different line here is not because I'm sending it to different people. It's because I'm sending completely different content. You can then specify what tabs you're going to include in each report. So, for example, Janet here is the only one getting the dashboard tab. If you're emailing, you can send other types of documents as attachments. You can even use BizBroadcast to publish other types of documents. It doesn't have to be just BizInsight reports. And we can add text and do all of those options. You're not limited to one. And then this is where you tailor the content. So Fred is going to get the report just for Dallas. Janet's going to get the report in an Excel spreadsheet just for Miami. And notice Tom here, we're passing 4 parameters. As the brand manager, he wants to see all locations and then each one broken out. So he's actually going to get 4 income statements and 4 expense reports. So we are just emailing. You can see my outbox is empty. It's offline, so we can look at them, but if it was online, they'd all be sent. We do support scheduling, so you can schedule reports out. If you want to publish on demand, once you've set this up, it's real hard. It's a single click of the button every month. That's all you need to do. And it will generate those reports, publish them out for you, and you're done. So we'll take a look at these. And what you're going to see is these are going to look very different. They're not going to really look like they were generated with the same publication request because they're all going to be different. So we're done. Here's our emails. And remember, Fred got the report just for Dallas in a PDF. And here's the text in the body. And if we look at his reports, here's his cover sheet and his Dallas reports, okay, just for Dallas. If we look at Janet, she got the Excel spreadsheet in a values-only report, and she got the dashboard just for Miami. So here's her cover sheet, her values-only Excel reports, and her dashboard. And then lastly, Tom got the 4 parameters passed in a PDF. Now what's nice is, as you'll see here, for a big PDF, we bookmark the PDF, and make this a little bigger. And you can see what's on each page. So these are the income statements generated, and even though we only had 1 report, we're able to burst out any number of reports based on the number of parameters. So 1 report to build, but you can generate as many variations of that 1 report as you need. So lastly on the publishing is, notice we had an alert here. You can set up alerts or conditional distribution. So if the condition that you set up, which is an Excel conditional statement, is met, you send the alert or the report, otherwise you don't. So this was just saying, you know, if our income statement on J32 is less than $300,000, I want to email the CFO. And you'll see here that it is less than $300,000, so we met the condition, and so we generated the alert. Just going to change it so we don't meet the condition, and you'll see that nothing shows up. So the next time I would say publish, since it's not meeting the condition, we wouldn't generate that report. So that's kind of our reporting and the publication piece as well. So if there are any questions, happy to answer any. But that kind of concludes the demonstration portion. And we wanted to allow some time for Q&A.
Can the distribution recipients receive GL detail tabs that they can drill into themselves?
You can generate a drill down tab, but if they do not have a BizNet license, they can't drill down. So you'd have to provide the drill down detail for them. Otherwise, you can send them, if you notice in the distribution, one of the options is to send them just a regular Excel spreadsheet with all the functions and the drill down capability, but they do need to have a BizNet user license. Now, we are coming out with next month a viewer essential that would allow you to provide a static report for free with drill down capabilities, but we're limiting the amount of data. So for small reports, you can have all the drill down on the reports, no license required in Excel, but we're limiting the amount of data that would allow you to drill into. So it would be a free license, but for bigger reports, your standard reports, that's how that works. Hopefully that didn't confuse you too much. So you have a couple of options. For a quote, you really need to determine how many designers, how many viewers, and this is just kind of a recap of what the user licenses each do, and these are named, not concurrent users. So designers create reports. So when you saw me add a function or modify it, only designers can do that. Viewers can do everything else, and if you've ever purchased a viewer, you can always upgrade them to a designer too at some point.
Is it possible for BizNet to provide a user demo product?
You could talk to ISM about that. We would have to install the product, so there would be a fee with that. And we do on occasion have a trial. We limit it to 2 weeks, so we can do that. So you can talk to ISM about that, because most people want to check it out with their data, so we install the real product. It's just a temporary license key.
Can you briefly demo the AP or sales analytics? That's a question from Lori Hall.
Let me just show you real quickly. Don't really have time. They're pretty extensive components, but let me just show you here. Sales, which is really pretty cool. This is, again, just examples. I've got some dashboards, but this is looking at my customer sales for the month using my customer sales rank. And if I change the month, you'll see all my rankings change as well as my amount. And so does my dashboard. So I can drill down, and this is looking at my top 10, but I could look at my top 100 or whatever. I could look at my bottom 100. I can drill down and see what made up this number from an item, quantity, amount, so you can just kind of drill down. And now it again gives you the pivot table for, again, which you can then save the format, extended amount. Maybe I want to look at quantity. I can actually see, what makes up this amount. And then double-clicking gives me all the sales individual transactions. So these are the year-to-date. You can look at it by product, by company, by territory. So again, these are just all rankings. So you put in the current month and you'll see all your rankings change. So just to kind of give you a sense of the functions, and the one thing I don't have on here is the aged receivables and payables that we have, but I can do sales amounts by week, by month, by quarter. And just to look at some of the rankings amounts, you can see customer, ranked by customer, customer class, salesperson, territory, item, product line. These are just the monthly. We have all the year-to-date rankings as well. And when you look at one of the sales amount functions, I can report any one of these items by customer class, customer, item, territory, product line. So any one of these items can be in the row or the field. So with one function, you can create just hundreds of reports. So you can pull in gross margins, cost of goods amounts. You've got the same exact, and then these are all the pre-built reports for AR out of the box. For AP, it's very similar, almost exactly the same here by net module here. You've got all of the same reports, purchase amounts, and then you've got all the rankings for expenses. So pretty comprehensive integrations, and again, this is all out of the box, so everything is pretty straightforward. So, this would probably take a demo in and of itself just to kind of show you the functionality. And then we have the ability to do the aged payables. What's kind of nice the way the aged payables works is, or receivables is, you can create the buckets as a parameter. So if you want to look at an aged report in 15-day increments or 30-day or 90-day, just change the bucket amount and, it redoes all the recalculation for you. So it's kind of nice. So just to show you an AP report, this is vendor expenses for the month. So I can just put in the current month, and I can look at it by vendor class. If I want to look at it for just 1099s or employees, you could just nail it down. And of course, this is my year-to-date rankings. So I can and then we just added a chart. So you can, the amount of reports you can build are just endless. So that's just kind of a 10-second overview. But really easy to do, and just like you saw me build the functions, these functions all work the same. So that's the nice thing, is there's no training to learn these other modules once you learn how to build one. You just have the same function. It's just going to prompt you for different arguments, but building out this function is exactly the same as the GL. Any other questions? So that was a very quick demo.
How long does it usually take to master this tool?
Well, we have a 4-hour web-based training class, and when you come out of that class, and ISM does their own training as well, but historically we've been doing 4 hours of training, and ISM is a certified partner for us, so they would probably do your training, and they can do it, being very familiar with your system. but our customers come out of our class and they're self-sufficient. Again, I think you can see it's pretty simple. There is, you've got all the standard Excel functionality. Once you learn how to build a function, it's really just laying out the format. We cover, a lot of Excel-based functionality, and then we have a very good user guide. As a customer, you get access to our customer portal. There's online tutorials as refreshers. So the majority of our clients are very self-sufficient. In fact, we even have clients that are building reports before they even go to training. They find it that intuitive. I don't know of many reporting tools where that could be the case. A lot of them take a lot of training, and even then they can be very difficult to master. So I'd say, a day and you're able to build reports.